Welcome everyone. Today I am going to be performing the smog pump delete on my 1991 Ford F-150 straight 6 4.9 liter. I'm doing this to clear up some space and get rid of this old smog pump, which I'm pretty positive is causing some parasitic draw to my engine's true potential. There are a couple things that we're going to be deleting from this, including the smog pump, the canister, the tubes that lead down to the exhaust, as well as our bypass valve that goes to our EGR. Let's get started removing this. First things first, we need to remove the serpentine belt from the system so we can get to the smog pump. Go ahead and put that belt away. It's going to be too long to use after we remove the smog pump pulley. The next thing we're going to do is take off the two bolts holding our canister in. Those are going to be underneath the wheel well right here. So let's get that done. After that, our exhaust canister is free. We can just keep that there for now. That's going to be removed when we get the smog pump removed as well. Next, we're going to remove this bracket, which is holding onto our diverter valve. Next, I'll be removing one of the hoses from the diverter valve so that we can take the smog pump out in two sections. All we need to do now to get the first section out is take off the two bolts holding the smog pump onto its bracket. Our bolt on the front has a 9/16 head. I initially put a wrench in there first, but I couldn't get any good grip with that pulley in the way. So I grabbed a 10 mil and got the three 10mm bolts off of the pulley, and then I was able to pry the pulley off of the smog pump to get easier access for that 9/16 bolt. Now I was able to get a good grip on that bolt, and I can get that out of there. And then we'll just have one more bolt that's behind the smog pump. We could reach that from underneath the truck. Now we can go underneath the truck and find that 1/2-inch bolt right there. Grab yourself a socket and get that bolt removed. Now that that is removed, we can wiggle the smog pump out of the bracket. I used a long flathead to help me pry it out. Once it's free, we can pull the smog pump, canister, and hoses connecting them out of there. Now it's time to get our next section removed. We have two bolts that are connected to our intake. Those are holding our tube that goes down to our exhaust. Just remove those with an 11mm and then replace the nuts back onto the intake. Now that that's free, we can go underneath the car and see how it connects to our exhaust so we can disconnect it from there. The tube connects right before the catalytic converter. As you can see, mine's all cracked up. I tried to repair it with some exhaust putty, but that didn't work either. So this will give us a chance to get in there and clean it up. Usually, there's a 10mm clamp on there that you have to loosen to get this piece to slide off of the exhaust bit. Mine's super corroded and it's kind of broken, so I'm just gonna wiggle this thing off. Here's part of that clamp that used to be there, but it's all rusted up now. Now that we have the tube disconnected, we can can go back under and see the port that we're going to need to block off to make sure that no exhaust gases get out. Now that that tube is free, we can get this out of the engine bay. Most of this hose is going to be scrapped. However, this portion right here, we're going to be keeping and disconnecting it from the check valve, and we're going to be using that to block up the port we just made on the exhaust. The side of this we just disconnected from the exhaust is corroded and cracked. It's no good. The other side, however, still has the clamp that we need to connect to that port. We're going to be removing this part, then we're going to be hammering it down to close it up and make it so that it won't let any of the exhaust gases out. Now that we're done hammering away, let's get this piece onto that port and see how it fits. That fits perfectly. All we need to do now is grab a 10mm, tighten up that clamp, and this is a perfect DIY solution to not let any air in or any exhaust gases out. All right, we have two more things to do and we are done with this delete. We have one hose that goes to our EGR. It came from our diverter valve. That needs to get blocked off somehow, so just go ahead and remove the hose. I have a nice little assortment of vacuum caps that I like to use for this exact scenario. We just need to cap off that line, and that should be all you need to block off that hose. And then finally, all we have to do is replace our belt with a shorter one. I have this 98-inch one from Continental that I'm going to be using. This one is actually a little bit too long, but it all depends on your situation. I currently have the 3G alternator. I also have the Saginaw power steering pump. So you just kind of have to figure out what works well with your system that you currently have. For me, I'm going to be ordering a 97 or a 96.5-inch belt, but for the purposes of this video, it'll work just fine. There are quite a few ways that people say you can run these belts. A lot of people say they have clearance issues with the bolt holding in the alternator. I think I got lucky because I missed the bolt and it went around each of the pulleys perfectly. With the exception of it being just a little too long, it's good to go. Now we can start up the engine and see how everything runs without that smog pump. That is everything you need to do to get the smog pump system removed from these 4.9 Ford engines. I wouldn't expect to make crazy horsepower numbers with this delete. If it caused a parasitic draw, you're going to feel a difference. I know that I did. When I'm driving around, I have a bit more acceleration from startup and in the low gears. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. If you'd like to see more of my content in the future, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time.